BWTM Sports Gaming here, and this is Chisora versus Joyce. BWTM Sports Reacts. I don't think I'm going to do the traditional breakdown and who's going to win the fight. Frankly, I don't care who wins the fight. There's a deeper message that I think that boxing fans are missing here. And let's just call for this particular fight Derek Chisora the Truth, and we'll call Joyce doesn't want to know the truth. So we've all seen, first of all, Derek has made some comments about Joyce and his team, but these comments that Derek Chisora made about the team, about Joyce's team, I made similar comments about the team before the Zhilei Zhang fight. Now, before the Zhilei Zhang fight, I warned everybody that this dude that Joyce is going to fight is all wrong for him. Why would you stick your guy in a fight? Wasn't a mandatory, wasn't for a world title fight. Why would you stick him in the ring against a southpaw, and not just any old southpaw, a quality Olympic level southpaw, and him not being prepared to fight a southpaw, 1, and 2, a dangerous southpaw, and 3, a southpaw with a good backhand, and 4, a guy who doesn't move his head. You being the guy, Joyce, who doesn't move his head. Joyce was walked into the lion's den, not properly prepared, and got absolutely destroyed. And to make matters worse, his team sent him back in there again, and he looked in terrible condition. He looked over. They put more weight on, so I don't understand the logic and how you can put more weight on and boxing people now. So going, yeah, if he puts more weight on now, yeah, he'll be better. No, he's gonna be slower, and he's gonna be there to get hit even harder. And that's what we saw. An even slower version of Joyce getting absolutely destroyed. Now, I thought the aim of a boxing manager is to manage his fighter to make sure his fighter gets to the top of the tree with taking as less damage as possible to get to be heavyweight champion of the world. Is that not the dream? So who's failed him here? Fight after fight after fight. Joyce has been walking forward. I called him the British George Foreman. Joyce has been walking forward in fights, and he's been getting tagged with right hands all the time. He's walked through those punches and been victorious. I think the Joseph Parker fight took more out of Joyce than people probably consider. And Joyce is no spring chicken now. You see, heavyweights get better as they get older, generally speaking, right? But you're meant to improve. Joyce is not improving. Under Ismail Salas, apart from teaching him how to juggle tennis balls, maybe, and to maybe do cartwheels, I'm not quite sure what Ismail Salas is teaching Joyce. I've said it before. Is he teaching him defense? Because defense is the key. You know, improve your jab. Make sure you're not getting hit with the overhand right. How many fights has he gone into where he's getting hit with the overhand right? This is an Olympic class fighter, a silver medalist. So don't tell me he's not got the ability to adjust. Don't tell me he's not got the ability to block the overhand right or to block the right hand. Okay, 1 or 2 fights he might get it. But you're telling me you can't teach him to coach defense, or you're just not a good defensive coach. So what exactly are you teaching Joyce? So in terms of his coach, never rate his coach. Never rate his coach. And then down to his manager, where they walked him into that fight. Now, I remember distinctly, I don't know where I heard it. I remember it being told this when Joyce had beaten Parker. He's going to take the Zhilei Zhang fight. He's going to lose the Zhilei Zhang fight. And he's going to go into another fight. And that will be the end of Joyce. Now, I don't know how much of Joyce is in control of his career, but it's very clear to see that something is amiss, and that if the people advised him to walk into that Zhilei Zhang fight, the first fight, and he suffered an eye injury, I would have said, you know what, this guy's not. What was the point of taking a rematch? Forget what the fans think. The fans are fickle. The media are fickle, and you can't trust the media, right? Understand this. You lose a fight, they're going to tell you to retire, especially at Joe Joyce's age. So he lost that fight. Me, I would not have taken that fight. I don't care what pressure they put on me. I would not have taken the rematch. For what? I would have fought anybody else but Zhilei Zhang. Now, people are saying Zhilei Zhang's great, he's this, he's that. Yeah? Stars do make fights. You can't be a 1 point stars make fights. But even though I know the style is dangerous to my fighter, I'm going to take the fight. No world title on the phone. And how much closer is Zhilei Zhang to becoming heavyweight champion of the world? You tell me. You tell me. So I don't understand why that fight happened. Who advised him to take the fight? Who advised him to take the rematch? And then the Cash Ali fight, he looked terrible. Again, looked overweight. He looked puffy. Looked overweight. So I don't know if Joyce went for any sort of depression after the Zhilei Zhang fight. He didn't look right. He didn't look right going into the second fight against Zhilei Zhang. And he didn't look right against Cash Ali. I'm just telling you as it is. And so when Derek Chisora turns around and calls him the P word, you know, what's your trainer doing? What's your manager doing? Why did you walk him into that room? I mean, what was the benefit for you to walk Joe Joyce into that fight? And for Joyce to accept that fight? I don't understand it. Now, Derek Chisora, his comments about Joe Joyce, I thought Derek Chisora was actually doing Joe Joyce a favour. And a lot of people think, no, he was asking about his manhood or his lifestyle out of boxing. What's he in boxing for? What's his point? Because up to today, I know nothing about Joe Joyce. Yeah, I know he's big, he's strong, he's powerful, he takes a great shot. You know, I know about his mum and my friends, Emmanuel, and the team did a fantastic documentary on Joe Joyce's mum, family. I mean, I'm really having a chance to really get around to look at it yet, but I know from the reviews it's been really good. And I'm going to get to it because he spoke to me when he came out to Nigeria. He spoke to me. I met him and we talked at length about it. So I think Derek's comments were quite stinging, but they were the truth. That's why I call Derek Chisora the truth. Derek Chisora is always the one to more or less say things that people don't want you to, that the media don't, or not say the media, promoters don't want to hear because it's bad press for them. But he's telling you the truth. If you can defend, like we had a guy before the Zhilei Zhang fight, we had one of the most dangerous heavyweights in the world. He's reduced almost to a laughing stock now. Almost. I mean, if you sit down and you listened to his manager talk about the rematch and listen carefully to what his manager was saying, I was looking at it, this dude knows jack squat about boxing. And like, I know his name is Bruce George, I think it is. I could got the guys wrong, but he's a very good trainer. Very good trainer. And Joyce didn't move his head, doesn't move his head, walks into straight lines. And Zhang was going to catch him on the left hand. And only this time he's going to do it quicker. Joyce lacked confidence. You could see he lacked confidence. He looked a shell of himself. Not the same guy, even when he was going into the rematch. He didn't look the right guy. He was like a lamb being taken to the slaughter for the second time. And it's only the British media that would like to see a guy fall. Do you know what I mean? Like, nobody acknowledges that Joe Joyce has got probably one of the best heavyweight records in history in terms of moving from prospect to contender. If you look at the guys he was fighting, Mike Tyson, Lennox Lewis, Evander Holyfield, as a heavyweight, you look at these guys and look at the guys that they fought before they got close to fighting for a world title. Deontay Wilder, Tyson Fury. Look at the guys that Joe Joyce had fought. And he hadn't even fought for a world title. Look at the guys he had fought. You just look at his resume. For a guy coming up as a prospect and going into contender. Look at the guys he fought. And every time I thought that he was going into his fights, he was there to get beat. Or he was in a position to get beat. He wasn't being, they say he was being fast-tracked. that he was being put in a position to get beat. And it was only a matter of time before he did get beat by somebody who had the skill set to beat him, which was the southpaw, which was his kryptonite. So they used that kryptonite against Joe Joyce on the night. Sometimes ego gets in the way of sense. So I don't know if Joyce was trying to prove a point to his management, his team, and his trainer. Oh, yeah, I'll fight Zhang. I'll take him on. Nonsense. I don't think if he had a... I don't think if it was down to Frank Warren himself, I don't think he'll take that fight unless they're trying to get him out of contract. Because if you look at Joyce, he was on the cusp. He was on the cusp. He would either have fought an Usyk or gone and fight Fury. Remember when he was still an unbeaten fighter and Usyk was up there going to talk to Tyson Fury? Remember that? And Usyk and Tyson called out Usyk, and Joyce went up there as well. Joyce was still an unbeaten heavyweight not too long ago. Joyce was considered one of the best heavyweights in the world not too long ago. After beating up Parker in an absolute thriller, he goes and fights Zhilei Zhang. Anyway, so his team, his training, his management, absolutely. And now he goes to fight Derek Chisora in a lose-lose situation. If you lose to Derek Chisora, it's bad, right? And if you win against Derek Chisora, it's bad. Why? Because Derek's career is finished. Derek's got no aspiration to be heavyweight champion of the world. Derek's got no, he's got no, it's his last fight. And suppose he were to get caught with a right hand. We just don't know what's left in Joe Joyce. He gets to get with a right hand and buckles. Because the best punch that Derek Chisora has got is that overhand right. And Joyce would be there to get hit by it. That being said, Joyce has the power to stop Chisora. And Chisora will just throw the kitchen. He'll go, you know what? Flip this. I'm just gonna have it with him. I'm gonna get fit and just have it with him. And I guess if he goes all wrong, I can always sit out in the stall with an injury. But he'll go. He'll have a go, Derek. For 4 rounds or 5 rounds, he'll have a go. But he's taken an awful shellacking over the years. And the truth is, for Derek, he shouldn't be boxing anymore. On the flip side, he should not be boxing. He looked terrible against Joe. That's Gerald Washington. That's like Joe Joyce with no power. Right, imagine now, it's now Joe Joyce hitting Derek Chisora those shots. He did not look good against. So the truth for Derek is, you should be retired, mate. You talk about 3 more fights. Mate, you're not making 3 more fights. If Joyce goes out there and renders you unconscious early, you ain't fighting, mate. Who are you fighting? For what? And it's possible Joyce can do it. Right? Joyce can run straight through Derek. Because Derek has a really bad habit of backing himself to the ropes. And Joyce is one of the best fighters in the world when it comes to when your back is against the ropes. That's where Joyce will nail you. However, Derek is good off the ropes himself. I've seen him inspiring many a times where his back is against the ropes and he lets you hit him and then he springs off the ropes with an overhand right. He knocked a guy in sparring, not saying who the guy's name is, knocked a guy out, a well-known heavyweight, let's just say he wasn't small. And he bounced off the ropes, throwing that same punch over the top. So Derek is not a guy I would be having Joe Joyce fight, because let's say Derek catches him one of them looping overhand rights and he nails Joyce and he's stiffing Joyce's legs. And Joyce starts to think about remembering the fight he had against Zhilei Zhang. I don't like the fight. I don't like, because what do we get out of it? There's not much to get out of that fight. So that's where I look at that fight and I say to myself, yeah, okay, for the fans, maybe a ding dong. Joyce doesn't need any more ding dongs. Joyce needs a very quick route back to the heavyweight, to where he was in the heavyweight division. And this is not the fight for Joyce. Joyce needs guys who are going to stand right in front of him, right? And he can let his bombs go and he can make a name for himself. So I would have not avoided, the training camp you got here, take a guy who probably can't punch and move him through. Even I tell you what, a guy like this guy, Dillian White and Jermaine Franklin, that's a fight I would take. Big Baby Miller, that's a fight I would take. There's guys who are going to stand right in front of you and be able to whack them up. Them type of guys. Flat-footed, straight lines, and you can just target practice. But not Derek Chisora. Because Derek Chisora, yes, he's flat-footed, and yes, he's past it, and yes, he's fought a lot of guys, but yeah, you beat Derek Chisora, but so has, mate, 100 million people beating Derek Chisora. Okay, it's a bit of exaggeration, but it's still the truth. And I'm not knocking Derek for 1 second, because he's a warrior, and he's a fighter, and he'll fight anybody, and all the rest of it, but it's just that, you know. But I tell you, like I said, Derek did Joyce a favour around that round table because he was asking Joyce questions. I still don't know who Joe Joyce is. To this day, I don't know who he is. All I know is a guy who's got a great chin, who just got knocked out by a Chinese heavyweight. I mean, what else do we know about Joe Joyce? What do we really know? He was a silver medalist, right? Sure. What else do we know about Joe Joyce? He says, oh, he's a role model. He wants that. He's got a message for the pick. What message? Is that message being relayed by his management team or by him properly? Or he's not the greatest communicator in the world, Joe Joyce. And is he deaf as well, Joyce? Is he going deaf in the ears? Because the amount of times he, what? Like, so Joyce is not the greatest at communicating either. And I like Joyce, and I like Derek Chisora. But the truth is, Derek Chisora has just basically exposed Joyce and done him a favour. He's been one opponent that said to him, you know what? You know, he doesn't just come to fight. He's saying, like, you're a nice guy. And you're not Cal. This is really not you. I said something years ago about Joe Joyce, right? If you remember, I said Joe Joyce needs to cut his hair, go bald, right? Cut all the somersault and all that stuff out. He needs to take a leave at George Foreman. He needs to look at George Foreman and move like George Foreman, because he can be a menacing guy, Joe Joyce. And when he's in the ring, he doesn't mess about. He really doesn't. But for some reason, for some bizarre reason, he comes out looking like the juggernaut. I don't know whose idea that was. That sounds like his manager. And he doesn't seem to. He doesn't have that aura of a menacing fighter. But when he's in the ring, he's like that. He needs to translate that. Talk less, speak less, and let your punches go. And get yourself a heavyweight trainer, a proper heavyweight trainer. Like, I don't know, find yourself a heavyweight trainer. Find yourself a guy who's got experience with heavyweights, and take yourself away and get yourself a proper camp around guys who know what it's about to be a heavyweight. And as a matter of fact, fire your manager you got now and bring Derek Chisora, make him be your manager. You think I'm joking? Derek Chisora would do 10 times better than what the manager's got at the moment. And there's no way Chisora would have let Joyce walk through and fight Zhilei Zhang. I can tell you that now. For anything it's worth, there's no way Chisora would have let him fight Zhang. No way. Chisora talks a lot of sense. I mean, people say Chisora takes a lot of punches. He talks a lot of sense. He does say some silly things, but underneath, when he's switched in, Chisora talks a lot of sense, and he's a guy who will be honest. And there's not enough honesty in boxing. There's a lot of guys talking a lot of rubbish, and a lot of people buttering up and not answering the right questions. So if you don't ask the right questions and you're always buttering up, then you don't get the best out of a fighter, and people don't get that. When you ask fighters the right questions, right, and promoters the right questions, you get the best out of them. That's the whole point of interview, to get the best out of an individual. So I think Derek should have retired. He should have retired after the third Fury fight. That should have been it. That should have been his retirement right there and then. I don't like to see a guy taking all them punches, and now he's going to get in the ring with a guy who's very heavy-handed and will nail him. You know, and when Derek backs up to them ropes, Joyce is the last heavyweight in the world that you want to be backing up against the ropes. And Derek would back up against, when he's tired, he'll back up against the ropes, and Joyce will nail him on those ropes. I'm not asking you, I'm telling you. So the front end, Derek might do well, but at the back end, that's where Joyce will get. Joyce will get him. If Joyce hasn't been toppled in the first 4 rounds by Derek, and trust me, Derek's going to come out swinging. He's going to come out bombing. For the first 4, he'll come out bombing. So Joyce is going to have to meet him with a stiff jab and push Derek back. Push him back. Keep Derek on the ropes. That's what Joyce has got to do. Derek's got to keep the ring in the fight in the center of the ring. Joyce has got to keep the ring, keep Derek on the back, on his back against the ropes. If Derek's back is against the ropes, and he's tired, it's all Joyce's. It's just how much Joe Joyce has got left with that confidence. He knows he's been knocked over. He knows he's been hurt. He knows he's been knocked out. So it's what's left of Joe Joyce. And has he got anyone in that team there who's good with psychology? I don't know. I don't know, because from the first to the second fight, Joyce looked worse for the Zhilei Zhang fights. And he didn't look much better against Ali. So are we looking at a fast decline of Joe Joyce? I don't know. But it doesn't help when your trainer is not up to task. It doesn't help when your team around you led you into 2 fights that end up getting KO'd and stopped for no reason whatsoever. So, Derek Chisora, and it's not War Chisora, it's the truth Chisora. And I'd like to see Chisora manage Joyce. I really would. And I'm not, no disrespect to the manager, but it is what it is. This is a business. It's not a personality thing. And people's brains get splattered and people can lose their lives. The minute you went for that, you should never take a Zhilei Zhang fight. I don't care. And if you, Joe Joyce, could not see that Zhilei Zhang was too much for you before the fight, you could not see that fight. You yourself need some serious questions to be asked of you. So this might not be the video that you want, but this is the video that you boxing fans need. And I don't care who wins on Saturday night. To be frank, I don't care. To be frank, sorry, Frank. I don't care who wins on Saturday night. I really don't. It's like one of those dead end fights, like when White fought Chisora. It's a dead end fight. Entertaining, yes. Is this going to tell us anything more about the landscape of the heavyweight division? Absolutely not. Bacoli versus Anderson, yeah, that'll tell us a bit more about the landscape of the heavyweight division. Bacoli, I'm talking about him already, a guy who fights with his chin in the air and has got 0 defense. Against Anderson, who's got quick hands, and if Bacoli's not careful, he can get himself knocked out. And he's talking about, oh, yeah, I knocked out Usyk in sparring. Oh, I did this in sparring. That's sparring, mate. Let's see you under the lights do it. Told you already, I still question your defense. You've got a very questionable defense. And then pitter-patter sparring punches. It's all right. Doing that nonsense over in America against Gerald Anderson, there'll be problems. But anyway, I wish Martin Bacoli all the best. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to rate, subscribe, leave your comments, share. See you soon. Take care.